Hey everyone, what's up? Mirai here and welcome to another ISBoxer video. In this one, I'm going to be showing how to set up Trove. Yes, Trove by Trion Worlds. It is multiboxable and we're just going to leave it at that. Let's just say that it is multiboxable. And if you continue watching this video, you will see this video is a little bit longer because it covers both the setup from start to finish, getting into the game, and then some gameplay demonstration by myself. So if you want to see me frustrated, just continue watching the video. So with that said, get ISBoxer up and running, get Interspace up and running. And when you have Interspace up and running, it's going to show as a little red crosshair icon in your system tray next to the clock. Right click that and then choose to add game. This will pop up at that point. And you can add the game one of two ways. We have to use the Glyph client in order to load Trove. So if you have a shortcut to your Glyph client within reach on your desktop or something, you can just drag and drop it on there and it will populate all the fields that it needs to populate. We don't need any parameters, but this is all you would need to do at this point. If you don't have a shortcut handy, then just name it something, give it a name, and then under the game executable, there's a little button here. Click the button and then navigate to where the Glyph client is. And the default install path is program files x86/glyph. So that's, if you put it somewhere else, you're going to have to find it, but we are looking for glyphclient.exe. And you're going to hit OK. I've already done this, so I'm going to back out of this. So after you hit OK, and you right click on the system tray, the Interspace tray icon again, you will see what you've added. So I already named mine Glyph, and it's the Glyph default profile. You want to see that. If you see that, you're good to go. Then in ISBoxer, we're going to go to the Wizards menu. We're going to go to the Quick Setup Wizard. And on step 1, we need to tell it what game we're playing. Obviously Trove, so find Trove in the list. Hit Next. Step 2 is where you're going to set up your team. This is what's known as a character set in ISBoxer. Now, you don't actually have to use your characters' names. Generally, people type in their characters' actual names when they're playing like an MMO, and they have a lot of different characters that they need to keep track of. In Trove, I only have 2 characters, so I'm just going to name them Character 1. And when you've typed that in, you can come down here, and you need to find what you added. Now, I have a bunch of stuff here because I have a bunch of stuff added to Interspace, but you will probably only have one thing to choose from here, and this will auto-populate with whatever you chose. If it doesn't, this is also a drop-down. Just pick it from here. So once you've done that, you can hit Add Character to Team, and a little trick is, if this is all populated down here, you can just hit Enter with a different character name up here, and it will just add it. So here are my 2 characters, and that's all I'm going to be demonstrating with. The next step is to name your team. Okay. Now this step right here is up to you on how you want to configure your layout. Now this is how your game clients are going to be laid out on your screen and displayed to you while you play. There is a default drop-down list of just a few different choices that the wizard will just auto-create based on how many characters you have in your character set. But I will say that for Trove, because you're going to be bouncing in between your windows to adjust them pretty often, like every few seconds, really, you probably want something like a tiled setup where your game clients are going to be the same size on your monitor. Something like a setup like this is really not preferable for Trove because you can see one game client really well, but the other one's down here in the corner, whereas this one is, in my opinion, much better. Now this is up to you. Try this one. If you don't like it, try the other one. I mean, it's all up to you guys. So I did at one point try to 4-box Trove, and I was using this quadrant layout here, although I did want to keep my sanity, so I dropped it from 4 down to 2, and you will see how that works out in the gameplay section. Now, I am using a custom window layout for this particular video because of the camera, because of the game clients. I just want to be able to display everything nice and clear to everybody in the video. So this isn't a window layout video. If you need help with the window layout, if you like what you see right here, come to the chat, come to the site, come to the forum. We'll help you configure this fancy thing right here. So I'm going to hit Next. This is another step that's kind of important. This is where you're going to be setting your foreground and background frame rates, as well as choosing which cores of your CPU the game clients will be using. Now, I will say that the majority of Trove players will be just fine leaving this as default. And I know that some people are going to say, oh my God, I can't play at 30 frames per second foreground. That's going to be terrible. Unfortunately, Trove seems to be a game that really doesn't utilize your hardware very well. No matter if you have an incredibly beastly system, it just does not use your hardware very well. It's very inefficient at doing that, and you'll see when I'm playing. My two game clients in this particular setup are 1440 by 900, and I can barely maintain 60 frames per second on my two game clients. So when I was multiboxing those 4 game clients, as I showed, I had the quadrant layout before, I could not do 60 frames per second. I could only do 30. So, and I have a pretty ridiculous system here. So, however, for this video, I'm already familiar with my setup, and I'm going to change this for me to 60 frames per second because I already know my setup can handle this. I'm recording in 60 frames per second, and everything works out well. However, if for some reason you really just want to fight that 30 frames per second limit, kick it up to 40, kick it up to 50, see what you can use. But I will say that you want to keep your foreground and background frame rates identical because the way that we're moving the characters around with the mouse cursor and whatnot, everything, if your frame rates are mismatched between each game client, then it's likely that your characters are going to become desynced more often than not, as if they're not desynced enough already. So that's why we start with 30-30. It's much easier on the system. It's much easier for the game client to maintain 30 frames per second. But if you feel that you want to try 40 or 50 or 60, go for it. But monitor your frame rates. I can't stress that enough. Monitor your frame rates and make sure that they're not wildly different between each game client. So this is a slightly important step. Otherwise, this down here can be left as default. If for some reason you feel that you're getting poor performance based on your CPU, then you can run the CPU strategy wizard under the wizards menu and you can change this to something else. But I'm just going to leave it as default for now. So next step, this is the final step. If you chose Trove on the first step of the wizard, which you should have, it will already have Action RPG standard set up here. Now the left column is really just, these are hotkeys that you will use for certain things. So if you need to toggle broadcasting mode on and off, which generally happens a lot, the default binding for that is Shift-Alt-R. Now Shift-Alt-R isn't all that friendly to press on your keyboard, right? It's kind of like a three finger or even a 2-hand type of key combo to press. Whereas as much as you're going to be using this, you may want to change this to something more friendly on your keyboard. I'm leaving it as Shift-Alt-R because it is bound to my mouse. I have a mouse where I'm able to program the buttons on it, and I have programmed Shift-Alt-R to be one of my buttons. So with that said, it's very easy for me to just press my mouse button and toggle broadcasting mode on and off. Now, this right-hand column here, these hold the control slot keys. I'm going to say that these are pretty mandatory, and they're not set by default because this is totally up to you on what you want to set here. Again, these are keys that you may be pressing very often, and you may want to use some key bindings that are pretty easy for you to press without any type of modifiers or anything like that. So I only have 2 characters, and I'm going to use actually some mouse buttons here. So I'm going to set this to mouse 5 and mouse 4 on my mouse, and that's good for me. So I'm all done. I'm going to hit finish. And I guess what I just recommend is if you want to get familiar with ISBoxer, just kind of expand some of these things and look in them. For instance, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come into my character set. Remember, that's your team that you set up. So my 2 characters are listed here. And what I want to do is I want to mute the background game audio and unmute the foreground. So if you've got multiple clients, which you do when you're multiboxing, sometimes you just get hit with all of the audio at once, so, 2 or 3 game clients may be playing audio all at the same time, and it gets very annoying when that happens. So this is an option that generally is recommended to enable so that when you switch between the game clients, only the one you're really focusing on is the one you hear audio from. Other than that, if you do want to change, if you don't like the Shift-Alt-R, right? So for the toggle broadcasting, the activate repeater, this is what it is. It's under key maps, always on, activate repeat. And in order to change the hotkey for any mapped key, you just click on this little arrow here and you pick something else from the drop down, or just type in a combination here. So, you can hit whatever you want. I'm going to leave it as Shift-Alt-R. Like I said, it's already bound to my mouse. But that's how you change the hotkey for anything, including under non-combat, you'll see the hold to control stuff. So nothing is set in stone, right? You've also got numerous wizards up here. So CPU strategy wizard to, if you wanted to redo your frames per second and you wanted to redo your CPU core strategy, you can do that here. Right, so there's several wizards. You want to redo your window layout. You want to redo. You want to add some mapped keys. You want to redo the CPU strategy. It's all right there. It's very simple, but nothing is set in stone. So whatever you choose in the wizard, right? So here's my mouse 5 and mouse 4, 2 hold to control keys that I had. And if I just want to change that, I just come back in here and change it to something different. It's just that easy. So nothing is set in stone. But with that said, I'm going to export my settings here. File, export all to interspace or Control E, and everything exports good. So at this point, you come back down to the interspace tray icon, you right click it, and under character sets, you will see the character set that you just created. You can click on that. And it is going to launch a glyph client at first. Now I've already logged my glyph clients in, so this will automatically log me in as it should. What's going to happen when you first launch a character set, if you're with new characters, you will have to either log into glyph client or just double check whatever account is logged into the glyph client. So the upper right hand corner of the glyph client shows the account. You can't see here because I will have blocked it out in the video. But if it's the wrong account in the upper right, then change it. Just click log out and log back into the right account. And you're only going to have to do this the first time that you launch your character set with new characters. Other than that, ISBoxer remembers per glyph client, per character, what the login should be. And because glyph client automatically saves the password, your password will automatically be saved as you see that I just logged in and it loaded up the correct client for me. So one other setting here that I'd like to suggest is after game launch, you want to exit the glyph client. We need to exit the glyph client after every character gets launched. A new glyph client needs to be launched for every single character. Now I will say that after the latest glyph update, this option is just not working for me anymore. So regardless, I do suggest you set it. It's nice and convenient when it does work, but if it doesn't work, you will have to manually close the glyph client. So I'm going to hit play, and I doubt this is going to close itself because it hasn't been working. So I will close the glyph client now. The first character is coming up, and ISBoxer should launch a second glyph client. If for some reason it doesn't launch a second glyph client, and the first one is closed, just come back to your character set and relaunch it, and it will pick up from where it last left off. So again, I've already logged into these characters, and the correct glyph client with the correct account came up for me. And again, if it's the wrong account, just double check the account name in the upper right, just log out and log into the correct account for the right character, and then you're good to go. And again, you will want to set this per glyph client that comes up because each one has its own settings saved. So I know this is kind of a lot to remember, but watch the video several times and hopefully you'll get all the details. Now I'm going to hit play on this one. This is my second account. I doubt this is going to close itself. No, it's not. So I'll close it manually. But here we are. We are in game. And because I selected on the final step, one thing I didn't show is that there's a little checkbox on the final step of the wizard that says start broadcasting mode on. I like that for this game. If you don't like it, then uncheck that box. But I do like it for this game, so I leave it enabled. It is enabled by default. So I'll close out of this. And right away, we're already noticing there are some issues. So my cameras are all jacked up and they're not matching up. And even, I'm not even in the same hub, I don't think at least. So what you generally want to do is turn broadcasting off for a moment so you can just move one character. And nope, I am not in the same hub. So this is where things become tricky. Right away, we're just throwing you to the lions because this is not a very friendly game to multibox. So new players and people who have, whether you've multiboxed in the past or not, this game is entirely different. If you've never multiboxed a game without follow, without assist, without any of that, this is not like Diablo 3. Diablo 3 does not take place in a 3D world. This game does take place in a 3D world. So moving with the mouse is pretty much a pain to do. And I'm going to jump over to this character right here. I just Alt-tabbed over. And one trick, what you can do is you can add yourself to your friends list. So I've named my characters Mirai 1 and Mirai 2 because I'm incredibly clever. But I have Mirai 1 here on my friends list, and I'll hit join. And what that's going to do is that's going to automatically bring him over to where we're at. So I'll turn repeater back on. You can see that my mouse cursors, well, my cameras are moving, and we'll try to move forward at this point. And everything's kind of looking all right. We do have to go to the upstairs portal. So it's really easy to get to this portal, but we do need to go to the other portal. So we're going to try to get ourselves up there, and you can see we're already kind of running into some problems here. Characters are kind of all over the place. But we'll get there, and something like that. So you can see that both characters are close enough to the portal to where I can jump out into the real world. Now, I realize I'm level 7. I don't want to do anything too complicated with my characters because I'm not very good at this game. So we're just going to jump into the level 4 and 5 area. So I'm going to hit W, and we'll be ported to the outside world. Now, what's really nice about jumping in a portal like this is that you get resynced. So both of my characters are perfectly synced at this point. If I don't touch the mouse, they will be in sync the entire time. However, I think one of my characters does have one more movement speed than the other one. So you can see that we're pretty much in sync at this point. But the moment I start to try to move the camera, no, they're actually, well, yeah, see, immediately it becomes an issue. So how do you fix this on the fly? Well, you can turn off broadcasting and just fix your one character. Now, of course, I'm only 2-boxing, right? So, however, you do want to line up the cameras. So my second character's camera is pointing off into an angle like this, and my first character, so I'll turn broadcasting back on, and I'll try to move, and you can see that we're still not lined up very well. Although we can get to our destination, right? All you have to do is you just have to kind of get to your destination wherever you're going. One thing I did mention before is that your stats, you can see movement speed here. My top left guy has a movement speed of 43. My guy in the bottom right only has a movement speed of 42. That will pose a problem. It's not that big of a deal. My game clients just kind of froze. Sometimes this happens to me and then they come back. It's not that big of a deal to have just 1 point of movement speed off. However, if you start falling, if the distance starts increasing there, you are really going to notice quick desync. So it's really recommended to keep your movement speed close together. But it's, well, with all the knockbacks in this game and the different types of moves and the fact that you have to keep moving very quickly sometimes, it becomes difficult to keep your guys synced up. And what you can do is, as the game clients come back, they'll come back. This happens on a fresh restart for me. So we'll get out of this. And what will happen now is I can, remember I showed you that I had those hold the control keys and I set them to my mouse button. So for my second character, I'll press and hold that key on my mouse. And I'm able to just move that character very quickly, line them up, release the button, and then I'm good to go for at least a few more steps, right? And I can just keep syncing him as we move along. And that's pretty much what you have to do. Now, at this point, let me find sort of a dungeon in this game. So I'm just going to cut over. I'm going to go find a dungeon, and we'll cut over to that in a moment. So here we are. And we're going to do a little bit of a dungeon. Now, you can see that it's really nice. I picked kind of a multi-boxing friendly class, in my opinion. I'm really unfamiliar with these classes, but you can see I've got this flamethrower that just kind of hits an area of effect. And I can also turn into a dragon, which allows me to breathe fire. It's I don't really have to have a clear target per se with this class. So we will go up here. We're going to get knocked. Oh, we're not going to get knocked back. Okay. So we'll blow that guy up really easy. We do have to go inside of this dungeon. Go this way. Oh, hello. Oh, no. I do have super jump on several characters here. He's facing this way. We'll turn around. We'll blow him up. This is quite an interesting game to multi-box. I will say that, right? If I haven't said it several times already. So we'll go into this dungeon here, and we're already off by a little bit. Okay. We're still off. Okay. There's so many knockbacks in this game that it's really, really, really difficult to just stay synced up. It really is. If you're legitimately multiboxing this game, staying synced is quite the task. And let me try to get my characters out over here. Okay, so we just get beat up a lot. You come back to your buddy. Dodge the fire. Okay, so I'm going to turn into dragons because I'm about to die. And we're just going to try to blow these guys up. You can't really see what's going on. I'm stuck in the corner. And we win. I've never died before, but I've gotten pretty close several times. So that's Trove. One other little bonus thing is that, here, let me get my guys to the portal. Like I said before, when you do get into the portal finally, if we want to do that, when you come out of the portal, you will be synced up perfectly, right? But again, my movement speed is off, so I'm synced up as well as I can be with my movement speed being off. But I guess one more tip in addition to that one is that when you're out, let me kill this guy real fast because this demonstration is going to take up some space. Okay. I'm having some trouble here. There we go. And that's exactly one of the things I want to talk about here, is that when you're moving around, if you're holding down a movement key and you cut off broadcasting, that includes both just normal broadcasting as well as the hold the control keys. If I'm moving along and I'm holding W and then I cut off broadcasting like this, my character right here that I'm focused on stops moving, but my other character is stuck. His W key is now stuck. So to turn on broadcasting again, tap W and then he'll stop moving. Now if I don't get killed here, jeez, man. Okay, well, flipping on broadcasting off and on isn't really all that easy, but this is Trove. Now, I've only got 2 to 3 hours under my belt playing this game. I am only level 7, almost level 8 at this point. I mean, it's not that tough to kind of keep your guys straight, but I don't know what the end game content of this game is like. So one other thing you can do is what someone else was talking about is that, like I said, you've got your friends list, and here I was trying out 4 at some point. But what you can do is you can take your main character somewhere, right, and then, like I showed in the hub, you just join and you'll get warped to where the other guy is. So that might help for getting people synced up. But again, you can only use this so often. And other than that, it's a cooldown of like 30 to 60 seconds, something like that. So you can't use it every few moments to continue to resync your guys. But that's Trove, and it is multiboxable, and good luck multiboxing it if this is your thing. Other than that, it is a very interesting game and slightly frustrating to multibox. That's my opinion, though. And thanks for watching, and if you have any further questions, comments, or concerns, please visit the ISBoxer forum or the live chat. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.